Stop what you are doing right now. If you have a raised bed, a patch of ground, a few containers on a patio, or a single pot sitting in a sunny window, what I am about to tell you is going to change what happens in your garden this fall. And more importantly, it is going to change what ends up on your dinner table in October and November. Here is the mistake most American home gardeners make every single August. They look at the calendar, they look at the heat, and they quietly decide that the growing season is winding down. The tomatoes are finishing up. The zucchini is on its last legs, and somewhere in the back of their mind, they have already made a decision. Next planting is April, so the beds go bare. The soil just sits there. Weeks of productive growing conditions disappearing. Every single day without a single seed in the ground. Here is what those gardeners do not know. Late summer soil is biologically alive in a way that spring soil simply is not. A seed that needed 14 cold, slow days to crack open in April will push through the surface in 4 or 5 days right now. And the crops that go into that warm, active soil and mature into the cooling temperatures of October, they end up sweeter, more tender, more nutritionally dense and better flavored than anything those same plants produced in the heat of summer. There is a physiological reason for this. It is called frost sweetening. When temperatures drop toward freezing, hardy cool season crops convert their stored starches into simple sugars, glucose and fructose, as a biological survival mechanism. Those sugars are what make a fall-harvested carrot taste completely different from a summer carrot. That conversion is why restaurants charge more for autumn kale. That is why fresh fall broccoli tastes nothing like the bag you pull from the freezer. 5 vegetables. 5 varieties with decades of documented success in university trials across every major U.S. growing zone. Planted right now, in the ground this week, harvested fresh in October and November. One of them, the last one on this list, has a hard deadline attached to it. A window that most gardeners in zones 3 through 6 have already nearly closed. Miss it by 2 weeks and the season is over for that crop before it even starts. But plant it today, and you will pull the sweetest, most nutritionally complete heads of broccoli your backyard has ever produced straight into November. Let's go through every single one of them. Most people who grow kale in spring end up with the same story. It starts strong, the leaves look great, and then July arrives and the heat flips a switch. The leaves turn tough and bitter. The plant bolts. It sends up a flower stalk. And anything left on it tastes like something you would not serve to anyone you like. Here is why that happens. Under long summer days and high temperatures, kale is hormonally triggered to shift from leaf production into reproduction. Once that switch flips, the plant floods its leaves with bitter secondary compounds called sesquiterpene lactones. It stops being food and starts being a weed. The fix is not a spray or a trick. It is timing. Winterbore kale planted right now, between July 15th and August 30th in northern and midwestern gardens, September 1st through October 15th in the south, matures under shortening days and cooling nights. That environmental shift suppresses the bolting trigger entirely. The plant stays in full vegetative production mode. And then October arrives. The first frost hits Winterbore, and something remarkable happens inside every leaf. The plant begins converting its stored starches into glucose and fructose, a cold acclimation response it has developed over centuries to protect its cells from freeze damage. The leaves that come out of that first frost are noticeably sweeter, more tender, and genuinely milder than anything the plant produced all summer. This is not a marginal improvement. It is a different vegetable. Winterbore reaches full maturity in 52 to 60 days. Harvest baby greens at 28 days if you need them sooner. Pull outer leaves when they reach 8 to 10 inches, always leaving the central growing tip intact. One plant, managed this way, yields over a pound of premium quality foliage from September through November. In mild zones, well into December plant now. The frost does not end this harvest. It starts it. This is the one with the hard deadline. Waltham 29 in broccoli needs 74 to 85 days from outdoor transplanting to reach harvest. In zones 3 through 6, the upper Midwest, New England, the mountain states, that math is unforgiving. Start seeds indoors right now, this week, not next week. Transplant seedlings outdoors in 2 to 3 weeks. That puts your harvest window in October and November, right before the first hard freeze closes the season. Wait until mid-August to start seeds, and the math no longer works. The crop will not finish. You will be pulling immature heads before the frost takes them, or losing the plants entirely. Here is what makes this variety worth the urgency. Waltham 29 is an open-pollinated, cold-tolerant heirloom specifically developed to delay head formation until sustained cool temperatures arrive. Unlike early season hybrids that try to rush ahead in summer heat, this variety waits. It holds, and when the cool nights of October finally arrive, it produces a tight, dense, nutritionally loaded central head that can reach 4 to 8 inches across. The harvest method most people get wrong: cut the central stem at a 45-degree angle, 5 to 6 inches below the head. That angled cut prevents water from pooling in the hollow stem, which causes rot. Do not cut straight across. That single habit is the difference between a plant that keeps producing and a plant you pull out of the bed 2 weeks after first harvest. After the central head is cut, Waltham 29 produces abundant lateral side shoots. Those side shoots continue coming until a hard freeze shuts the plant down. Primary head yield, 1.0 to 1.5 pounds. Side shoot bonus, another ½ pound or more. Fresh broccoli cut from your own garden after the first autumn frost tastes nothing like anything that ever came out of a freezer bag. The cold triggers that same starch-to-sugar conversion. The flavor is sweet, nutty, and rich in a way that stops people mid-bite. Southern and desert gardeners, zones 7 and warmer, transplant in September through November. Your window is wider, but the urgency is the same. Start now and you have a full fall and early winter harvest. Wait and you miss the ideal cool temperature maturation window entirely. Most Americans have eaten beets from a can. That experience, soft, slightly metallic, uniformly sweet, has almost nothing in common with a beet pulled fresh from the ground and eaten the same day. Here is why. Commercially processed beets are cooked and packed weeks or months before they reach a shelf. The flavor compounds break down. The texture collapses. What you get is a pale imitation of what a beet actually is. Detroit Dark Red is an heirloom variety introduced in 1892 and still one of the most reliable beet cultivars available to American home gardeners. Because of one specific trait, it accumulates sugars aggressively when soil temperatures fall between 50 degrees and 60 degrees. That cooling is exactly what happens in September and October in most U.S. growing regions. Cool fall temperatures also eliminate a cosmetic defect called zoning, those unsightly white concentric rings inside the root that indicate poor sugar accumulation. Fall-grown Detroit Dark Red beets, pulled at exactly the right size, are deep red all the way through. Direct sow in July through August in northern states, September through October in southern zones. The harvest window is specific and unforgiving. Pull beets when the shoulder of the root, the top portion visible at the soil surface, measures between 1.5 and 3 inches across. Past that window, the texture becomes woody and fibrous and the sweetness fades fast. Mark the date at sowing. Respect the window. Yield is 5 to 10 pounds per 10-foot row. One thing most gardeners never learn about beets: never plant them adjacent to pole beans. Pole beans release biochemical compounds into the soil that stunt beetroot expansion. Plant beets near onions or brassicas instead. That combination improves soil health and repels common insect pests. A beet pulled at the right size, roasted the same day, tastes like the vegetable most Americans have never actually eaten. Cut one of these open in October and look at the color. That is what you planted for. Traditional spinach cannot survive July. The combination of long days and high temperatures triggers bolting within days of germination for most varieties. Most American home gardeners accept this and go without fresh leafy greens from June until late September when they try again. Bloomsdale Long-Standing is the variety that changes that calculation. This 1874 heirloom has a specific structural advantage over smooth-leaf spinach varieties. Its leaves are heavily savoyed, deeply crinkled and textured, which physically protects the leaf surface from light frost damage and allows the plant to survive temperatures that would collapse a flat leaf variety. Sown in late summer, Bloomsdale establishes a compact vegetative crown that holds through the first freezes of fall. The planting window for northern and midwestern gardens is July 25th through August 30th. In southern and coastal regions, September 1st through November 15th. One germination problem kills more late summer spinach plantings than anything else. Soil temperatures above 80 degrees trigger thermal dormancy in spinach seeds. The seeds simply will not germinate. The fix is straightforward. Side dress the seeded row with a light layer of light-colored organic mulch. Clean straw works well. And keep the soil surface damp with frequent light mistings. That combination cools the soil surface by as much as 10 to 15 degrees and keeps the moisture the seeds need to break dormancy. Bloomsdale reaches harvest in 40 to 48 days. A 10-foot row yields 4 to 7 pounds of fresh spinach. Harvest outer leaves at 3 to 4 inches and leave the center intact. The plant keeps producing from the inside out for weeks. One management detail most gardeners skip. Bloomsdale leaves are highly respirative. Fresh storage life under refrigeration is only 5 to 7 days. Harvest what you will use in the next few days. Leave the rest growing. The garden is a better refrigerator than anything in your kitchen. Carrots have a reputation as a difficult late summer planting. That reputation comes almost entirely from one problem most gardeners never identify. Carrot seeds are exceptionally small. They sit in the top quarter-inch of soil, and July heat dries that surface layer out within hours of watering. The seeds desiccate before they can sprout. Gardeners water. Nothing comes up, they assume they did something wrong. They replant. Same result. Here is the fix that changes everything about July carrot germination. First, sow seeds 1-for-4 to 1-2-inch deeper than you would in spring. That keeps seeds in cooler, more moisture-stable soil that late summer wind and heat cannot reach as quickly. Second, after sowing, lay a single piece of burlap or a wooden board flat over the seeded row. Check underneath every morning. The moment tiny green sprouts appear, pull the covering immediately so they get full light. Third, for scarlet nonce specifically, mix the tiny seeds with dry fine sand or vermiculite before sowing. This distributes seeds evenly across the row and prevents clumping that requires aggressive thinning later and disturbs adjacent roots. One more technique that experienced growers use to beat narrow planting windows. Chitting. Soak carrot seeds in room temperature water for 24 hours before sowing. This initiates the metabolic pathway for germination before the seed even hits the soil. Pre-soaked seeds germinate 2 to 5 days faster than dry seeds. When you are working with a narrow late summer window, those days matter. Scarlet nonce is nearly coreless. It shows minimal structural woodiness in the inner vascular core that makes so many carrot varieties tough and bland. It is cylindrical, uniform, and develops its characteristic sweetness quickly, which is critical for getting high-quality roots before cooling autumn weather halts plant metabolism. Planting windows, July 1st through August 15th in the North and Midwest. September 1st through October 15th in the South and Southwest. Days to maturity, 65 to 75 days. Expected yield, 10 to 12 pounds per 10-foot row. Here is the harvest that most gardeners never plan for but always talk about. A scarlet nonce carrot pulled from the ground in October, after cool nights have triggered that starch-to-sugar conversion, is noticeably sweeter and more complex in flavor than anything the same plant produced in summer warmth. Pull them when the crown diameter reaches 1.0 to 1.5 inches. Twist off the greens immediately to prevent moisture loss. Store unwashed in damp sand at 32° to 38° when they will keep for months. 5 vegetables. One physiological advantage your spring garden never had. Fall crops are established in warm, biologically active soil and mature into cooling temperatures, shorter days, and declining pest pressure. That combination does not just make the timing work. It makes the food better. Sweeter carrots, more tender kale, nutty frost-kissed broccoli. These are not marketing descriptions. They are documented plant biology, and they are available to every home gardener willing to put seeds in the ground this week instead of waiting until April. Most American gardens go bare from August through next spring. Months of productive growing conditions, wasted. Beds sitting empty while grocery store prices keep climbing. The average backyard vegetable garden produces around $600 worth of fresh produce per season. Every week of bare soil is yield that never happens. Pick one of these 5 today. Just one. You do not need to plant all of them. Start with whichever one you actually cook most, and put it in the ground this week. Which one is it? Drop it in the comments and tell me your zone if you know it. Someone gardening in your exact climate is reading those comments right now and your answer is useful to them. Subscribe. What comes next is about extending these beds even further with the one technique most American home gardeners have never tried.